Okay, hello everyone again. Good evening, good evening. Can you hear me? All of you? Yes? Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes,
Yes,
teacher.
yes, very
All
clear.
right.
Sure,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we are going to start with a session. Today we are going to talk about, as you can see here in the slide, we're going to talk about the strategies that are useful when we listen something. No, it is very important to recognize as a teacher, and also you can teach these strategies to your students to become better listeners, no? Good listeners, and they couldn't have any trouble when they listen and they are required to understand something, right? Even you told me that you think that listening is quite difficult. And the last session we saw, no? Some aspects why listening was so complicated, was difficult, no? Because we receive a lot of words together, no? Loads of information, it's temporary. No, we analyze many aspects related to listening and why we consider this a difficult skill. Well, and then we are going to pass to the stages that we usually have, no? When we have this kind of lesson, not specifically in the listening skill, but as I told you before in a number of times, so this doesn't mean that we are going to focus just on listening, because we're going to involve the other skills too, right? So let's start by doing here feedback. Remember the last class we were talking about the differences between authentic material and pedagogic material, right? Can you remember about something about this? Can you remember something about this? No, nobody. Authentic and pedagogic material. Can you tell me?
Yes, a little bit, teacher.
All right, Abraham, tell us.
Authentics when we create and pedagogics is giving, no?
Yeah, authentic, what we create.
Something original.
Yeah, that's it. Something original, no? So here you're going to use real text, real photographs, real videos, no? You use realia,
Right.
so it means real objects. That's good, Abraham. And we use it as a teaching resources, no? And they are not usually prepared for us, no? They are not usually prepared for pedagogical purposes or teaching purposes. No, they exist, no? They are created for other reasons, no? For example, to give information or to entertain, no? Or to eat. For example, if you talked about fruit and you bring to your class real apples, real bananas, so the purpose of this is not to teach, is not to use it as a teaching resource, no, but we use them as a teaching
As a
resource, no?
resource.
Oh, yeah, please, the microphones, yes. All right, so notice here, this is the authentic, and pedagogic is the other side, no?
The opposite, yeah, the opposite.
Exactly.
These resources, these textbooks, for example, they are made for, in this case, for academic purpose.
Exactly, no? They are created. They are created
Yes,
for
we create for academic purpose.
Yeah, we as teachers or maybe other teachers or specialists, no, create this kind of material resource, no? Generally, you have these textbooks or worksheets or handouts, or maybe we adapt, no, something in order to teach to your students, no? That's why here says that we prepare, no? They have been prepared to include examples of specific grammatical items or maybe discourse features, no? So this is the purpose of this material. So notice here that we have these two. Now, then we talked about different characteristics, no, about the listening test, no? related to the content, related to the delivery, no? So what makes a good listening test? So there are many factors, no? There are a lot of factors that we can take into account in order to have a listening test, no? The first one you can see here related to the content is the interest or entertainment. If this test is going to motivate your students or your students are going to be interested in that. Then the cultural accessibility, the speech acts, the purposes of communication. Remember, speech acts are related to the purposes of communication. These core structures, the structure of this test, density, no? And the language level. According to the delivery, you have the length, the quality of recordings, speed and number of speakers, and the accent. So we have these items in order to consider, in order to create a listening test, no? Now we are going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of using this kind of material, no? For example, you could see here the good points and the bad points, all right? The good points here says that they are exposed to real language. You know, if we use the authentic, notice the authentic resource, authentic material, so your students are going to be exposed to real language, what the native speaker says or speaks, no? With this accent. There is factual acquisition. What does it mean, factual acquisition? That you are acquiring the intonation, the accent, the rhythm. They are acquiring it, all right? They are acquiring it. If they are exposed to real language, so it means that they are acquiring it. No, remember that there is a little difference between these two terms, no? They are related, no? They are related, but there is a little bit difference, no? When we talked about acquisition and learning. Acquisition is something natural, no? Unconscious. Learning is something conscious, no? So analytics, no? So this is the difference between acquisition and learning. So that's why here it says there is factual acquisition. So acquisition happens when they listen to real language. Another, textbooks do not include inaccurate language. Maybe inspirational for some students, used for various activities and tasks. There is a wide choice of styles, genres, and formality. Read for pleasure, listen for pleasure. Notice here the good points related to the use of resources, authentic resources. What are the bad points, if you could say that? No, it doesn't mean that they are bad, no? That they are some tricky or difficult, no? One of these aspects is that they are difficult to understand, no? When we listen to some native speakers, so they have a special accents, the speed, no? The speed is quite clear than maybe a non-native speaker does, no? So all the ideas are together. So notice here that you have some trouble in order to understand the test. The other one is the vocabulary, and the vocabulary may be not exactly what students need, no? When they are exposed to authentic material, so maybe most of the vocabulary is not the vocabulary that they are learning. Notice this is another trouble, no? They are rather difficult for beginners. Notice here, we want to use authentic material, authentic dialogues or conversations. So they are going to be so hard for beginner students, elementary students, all right? So try to be careful, all right? Try to be careful. The other one is the preparation of the tests and activities are often demanding and time-consuming. So they are hard to be completed, to be performed. And also they're going to take a lot of time. No? That's why here says time consuming. Then there are many various accents and dialects in listening. As I told you before, we have different accents. The major ones are the American or British accent, but you could have the Jamaican, the South African, Canadian, and so on, no? The Australian. Inside the USA, you have different accents too. Inside the UK, you have different accents too. So what kind of accents you're going to make your students listen? And the last one, become outdated quickly. All right. So notice here the good points and the bad points of using authentic material. No, the good points and principle I think is the most important, as that they are exposed to natural language, the language that native speakers use. All right, native speakers uses when they speak every day, in a daily speech. They are exposed to this natural accent. And the bad points, they are kind of difficult to understand, right? The vocabulary or the expressions that they are going to listen, maybe they don't have any relationship with what they are learning in the class. No, so we must adequate it. No, we must choose carefully what kind of listening we could have to our students. No? But notice here the good points and the bad points, the advantages and disadvantages of using authentic materials, so authentic resources. Oh, the microphones, Valeria. Valeria. Oh yeah, I think. Where is Valeria? Valeria, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Yeah, be careful with the microphones, please. Be careful with the microphones. All right. Now, I'm going to give you here, for example, an activity that is based using authentic material. All right. Maybe you have listened to this activity before.
Teacher.
Yeah, tell me.
Excuse me, talking about authentic and pedagogic materials, in our country, teacher, we have kind of freedom, to prepare our learnings, no?
Yeah, all right.
Freedom. It's no imposition, for example, no?
Yeah,
basically,
yes. All right. Yeah, well, when you teach in a school, sometimes, well, there's a difference, no? There's a difference between when you teach in a state school or a private school. Oh, sorry, just give me a second. Yeah, all right, I'm coming back. So as I told you before, there is a difference between when you teach in a state school or a private school. No, for example, most of the time when you teach English in a private school, so you use a textbook, all right? And in a textbook, you have the material, the listening excerpts. So maybe you can change it or not. It depends on you. But most of the time you use the listening that is in the book, all right? Oh, Valeria again. Valeria, can you hear me? Where is Valeria? Okay. Yeah, please be careful with your microphones in order not to be the class interrupted. All right, so maybe as I told you, when you teach or you use a textbook, in the textbook you have the listening exercises, the listening test, So the textbook provides this kind of resource. Maybe you can change it or not. It depends on us as a teacher. Maybe you could see that it's listening, or you could use other strategies. Then we're going to talk about the strategies. If you think that your listening in the textbook is so complicated, that you think that your students are not going to understand, or maybe they are not going to understand it easily. So maybe you could use other strategies. But as you told me, Abraham, we don't have an imposition, no, to use authentic or pedagogical materials. No? And at Stay School, I think we mostly use the pedagogic material or resource, no? Because we don't have this textbook and we use this, we create our own material, our own resource. No? So notice here this, all right? Okay, so here you have an activity based on using authentic material, authentic resource. I don't know if you have heard this activity before or used it before. Eavesdropping activity. Have you heard it before? Eavesdropping activity. No, nobody?
I never heard before, teacher.
All right.
Teacher.
So, what can you see in the picture?
A person listening.
Aha, yes, no, it's trying to listen to hear what other people are talking, right?
Yes.
No, so this person is using a class, no? Put it onto the wall and try to hear. So these activities are kind of similar to what the person is doing here, right? So this activity was developed by Porter and Roberts in the 1987. And notice what the students are going to do. I know that you have used it. Maybe you don't know the name, but you have used it because we mostly use this kind of activity to our students. So notice here, what is it involved? Students are told that they are guests at a party and that they can eavesdrop on conversations, remember, so they can listen to other people's conversation. They listen to short segments of real-world party conversations. Notice, so you make your students be exposed to real language, real conversation, not prepared, no? Because in the textbooks, you can find conversation dialogues too, but these conversations are adequate, no? With a specific grammar structure or with a specific vocabulary. But here, no, the teacher, what's the teacher doing here? So he makes his students or her students listen to real world party conversations and complete a worksheet in which they note down what topic the people are talking about. They also indicate on the worksheet whether they are interested in the topic or not. Follow-up activities could include other eavesdropping in real-world settings where English is spoken, taking notes on what is here, and reporting back to the class. So this activity is called eavesdropping activity. So they are going to listen to other people's conversations or dialogue in real situations. Notice, in real situations, could be in a party, or maybe when they go to a doctor or news report, and they need to take notes. They need to take notes. Or maybe, as you can see here, if they are interested, if they are interested in that topic or not. Notice here, maybe you could change it. You could tell, yeah, you're going to listen to some conversations, but maybe you're not going to tell them what kind of conversation is this or what is the topic about. No. So you make your students listen and they need to guess or identify what the topic is according to the conversation they are listening. All right. So notice you can change it. As I told you before, the activities that are proposed here are not to be fixed and do exactly what you can see or you listen here. No. So you can change according to the level of your students. So for example, taking notes is for more advanced level students, right? But they are beginner, elementary. So maybe to identify the topic of the conversation, no? Or to identify some expressions used by one speaker or the other speaker. Also notice that you can use different strategies, but Notice that you're using real conversations, not prepared, not adequate conversations, real conversations. So they are exposed to real language. All right. So don't forget about this, the eavesdropping activity. All right. Eavesdropping activity. For example, there is a kind of a similar exercise that we usually play in Spanish. No, that you need to say something, no, and the other person must listen to you, but you are going to speak in a soft voice, no, quiet, low, soft voice, and your partner is going to identify what you're saying, and this is going to tell to another person, and then to another person, and so on, and then comes back here to you, and you have this other sentence, or is not the correct expression. So it's a kind of similar, right? Like a game, no? In Spanish, we call this teléfono malogrado. So they are going to report. For example, here, one of the activities, the follow-up activities that they are going to report. What they listen, they need to report. So notice, but in a simple way, no? Maybe a sentence or a phrase, no? And it passed through one student to another student to another student and comes back to the original, to the person who says this sentence or expression for the first time. And you are going to check, yeah, this is the sentence that I told, or no, this is not the sentence that I told. And notice, you're practicing the listening using this activity. But for example, in this activity that I told you, it's adequate, no? But here says that you can use real conversations, no? Real dialogues in real situations. And notice that you can change, no? This activity, the eavesdropping activity. All right. Now, let's pass to the strategies. What strategies good listeners use? As you told me before, no? You told me that listening is a quite difficult skill, no? And we analyze different factors. So how could you become a good listener, or your student could become a good listener? So we need to use some strategies, all right? We need to use some strategies in order to become a better listener. And you can teach these strategies to your students too, all right? You must know as a teacher, but your students can identify and use these strategies too. But let's start by talking about what is a strategy. Tell me, please, your ideas about this theme. What is a strategy for you? Tell me, what is a strategy? In general, not just for listening, in general. What is a strategy? Anybody? No, nobody? Tell me what you know. This is your background knowledge, your prior knowledge.
Teacher.
Yeah, Abraham.
It's a way how to get to our purpose.
Aha, it's a way to get our purpose. All right, that's good, Abraham. Anybody else? What is a strategy?
Is a good organization.
Yeah, to have a good organization. Okay.
Could be tools to get our goals.
Aha,
Yeah,
tools to get our goals. All right, Janela. Nobody else? What is a strategy? For example, when we talked about a methodology, no, when we talked about language teaching and we start talking about methods and approaches, so we use this word, no? We have methods or approaches, methods, strategies, and then we have techniques, no? So we have these terms, no? So what you told me is right. Oh yeah, tell me, Leslie.
Can be It's a planning process.
Aha, you plan something that you plan as a process. All right, all right. And as a teacher, it's not the only way that we use it. No, we use in our daily life. We use a lot of strategies. You told me to get some objectives, goals, purposes. We plan something, right? So let's see. Let's see here. Let's confirm what you told me. According to Go in 2005, a strategy is the conscious activities that learners take to comprehend, recall, and memorize information. Notice this is equated to the listening, no? Now we are adapting this term to the listening skill. So activities conscious, notice conscious means that you're going to analyze, You're going to analyze, you're going to plan your activities, all right? Conscious activities the learners take to comprehend, to understand, to recall, and memorize information. So this is a strategy for listening skill. No, we're talking about the listening skill. Another person says, according to Old Mirani 2012, here you have their techniques or activities that contribute directly to the comprehension and recall of listening input. So the activities or techniques that we use to comprehend, to recall, no? What's the meaning of recall? Recall? It is mentioned twice here, first by Go and then by Al-Mirani, to recall information, to recall input, to recall.
Repeat, reproduce.
Yeah, to collect, to reproduce, to bring back something. No, this is to recall to your memory. This is recall. No, it's a kind of similar to remember. All right. So this is the meaning of recall. All right. So notice here techniques or activities that we use it to comprehend and recall the listening input. Another one. Notice another definition of a strategy, related to listening skill. There is no general consensus on this, although a number of writers such as Oxford, Jamot, O'Malley agree that strategies consist of conscious delivery behavior which enhances learning and allows the learner to use information more effectively. Notice again, conscious behavior, here says, not activities, behaviors. And these behaviors, conscious and deliberate behavior, makes us learn or use the information effectively. And this is a strategy. All right, talking about the listening skill. There are activities, behaviors, which allow us to comprehend, recall, and memorize information better, right? Effectively. Notice here, what is a strategy? All right? So,
teacher, excuse me, what's enhancement?
Oh, to improve, to improve. Enhancing is to improve. Okay. Similar to say improve, okay, all right? Oh. Just give me a second. What happened? What happened? Sorry. My laptop, I think it got locked. Just give me a second, please. Just give me a second. Yeah, I'm going to reproduce it again. I'm going to share it again.
Easy.
Can you see it? Yes? Can you see it?
Still.
Now?
No.
It's Coming up. Is
Just
coming.
the title, strategies, good
Oh, yeah.
listeners. Yes,
Okay,
just
okay,
the
yeah,
title.
this is it. Yes. You're right. So let's see here. Oh, my machine today is, yeah, let me see. Yeah, so we have seen this. We talked about these definitions. Now, types of strategies. There are different types of strategies. All right. Can you tell me some of them? Today we're going to talk about 3 of them in general. No? What kind of strategies do we usually use to learn or to remember or to comprehend better, to understand better? No, nobody?
Read some article about something.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, this is the specific activity, you know? You read tests, no, using maybe a newspaper or articles or blogs, yeah, or listen, no, to blogs or
Take
audios
notes
related.
to be.
Take notes, yeah,
Take
all right.
notes. Yes.
So you're talking about the specific activities that we use, no? But in general, remember, we are going to talk about 3 types of strategies, all right? The first one is the cognitive strategies. The second, metacognitive strategies. And the third one, socio-affective strategies. Let's start with the first one, cognitive strategy. What is a cognitive strategy? What is that? A cognitive strategy. Cognition, no? It refers to cognition, learning.
Right.
Could be all that involves our brain, our memory.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, that's good, Vanessa. Anybody else? Cognitive strategies. No more. Cognitive. Then we're going to see some examples and notice that we use it a lot. We use these strategies a lot. No, nobody else? Well, as Vanessa said, yes, these are related, no? To learning, as I told you, conscious, no? A kind of self-regulated learning. It included the attempt to plan, to check, to monitor, to select, to revise, to evaluate, etc. And we use this strategy to complete an immediate task. Let's see the other one. What about the metacognitive? Metacognition. Here, this is the general term, metacognition. Cognition and metacognition. No, nobody? Aha, yes, Ruth. Aha, Ruth says here in the chat is related to reflect. Aha, reflection.
Writing could be too. Writing.
Yeah, metacognitive. Writing. Yeah,
This
what?
could be
Yeah, tell me, Vanessa.
All the strategies that we use, as Ruth says, as reflection, but after the activity.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's it. So this is a kind of reflection. Notice And this reflection makes the students, enable the students to regulate their thinking and to become independent learners. Notice, who can enhance their school and life experiences. Enhance is to improve, not to get better, all right? To increase also, all right? So these kind of strategies enable the students to regulate their thinking because they are going to reflect. No, they are going to think if it is good, bad, it was good or bad, what did I do? No, so notice it's a kind of reflection, and it makes a student more independent student or learner, all right? And not also something related to learning, is also involving their own life, their own experiences. As you can see here in the second part, is related to learning in general, and it often has long-term benefits. Notice the purpose of this strategy is to make your students more independent, all right? More independent. And what about the socio-affective strategies? What about the third one? Socio-affective, that is very important too, all right? Sometimes when we teach something, not specifically a language, any other kind of subject, we emphasize mostly on the cognitive aspect of learning. To analyze, to deduce, to infer, to complete, to understand, to decodify. This is the cognitive aspect of learning. Sometimes we apply the metacognitive, sometimes we give our students some techniques or activities, and these activities and techniques or strategies make your students be more independent in the process of learning sometimes. I think a few times we apply the social affective strategies. Anybody who can tell me about the social affective strategies?
Sure.
Could be the cooperating. So teacher, when teacher centrate in the emotion of our students.
All right.
Empathize.
Okay, Janela, that cooperation related to the emotions, feelings of our students. Abraham.
Teacher. Teachers, we're kind of psychologists. That's why we have to connect to the students through psychological strategies, no?
Yes, you're right. That's it. Yes, what you told me is right. It's related to this, non-academic. Notice cognitive and metacognitive. Mostly cognitive is related to academic aspects. Metacognitive includes cognitive or not cognitive, but the socio-affective is mostly non-academic. Strategies were those which were non-academic in nature and involve stimulating learning through establishing a level of empathy. As Abraham says, we need to have empathy between the instructor, the teacher, and a student. Here, it's also related to the learner's interaction. Notice here, the learner's interaction with other speakers and attitude towards learning. What is their attitude toward learning? All right. So these are the social affective strategies. And notice here the 3-1. And now we are going to analyze some examples. I'm going to give you some examples.
Teacher,
Tell me.
In social affective, we can consider how to get across to connect to students, no?
Exactly. That's why here says empathy, no? Empathy, empathetic. We must be empathetic. Because sometimes we know a lot, we know the language, we can speak fluently, but maybe we don't have this empathy toward students. Maybe they are not going to be motivated to learn or to be in the class, no? So how you can get to your students, no? How you can get to your students. And it makes this interaction better and the learning is better too, no? Notice
with
that.
them. Teacher, excuse
Yeah.
me.
Tell
I
me,
don't know
Nina.
if everybody is watching what I'm watching in the screen. It's like a double screen. It's not full screen. I don't know.
Oh, double screen, yes.
It's very difficult to, yeah, a little
Now?
one. Now it's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Oh,
Thank
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. No, today my computer, my laptop is a little crazy. I don't know what happened with my laptop today. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Let's analyze some examples. All right. Let's analyze some examples. The cognitive ones. A cognitive, for example, it's find out about a topic to be listened to predict. So maybe a student tried to find out information about that topic that the teacher is going to give, in the listening test, and in order to predict, to make a good prediction. And this is a cognitive strategy. The student is doing that in order to predict better. Oh no, tomorrow the teacher is going to give you a listening test, and he or she told us that it's going to be about the environment in Peru. Oh, how is the environment in the regions of Peru? Oh yeah, so maybe the students try to find out, to investigate about a topic, and he knows something about it, and when he or she listens to the audio, to the listening observed, so he or she can understand better or predict better what the topic is. All right. So this is a cognitive, notice, cognitive strategy. The other one, metacognitive. Listen to BBC News once a week. Notice, what is the purpose of a metacognitive strategy? That the students or learners can be more independent. So the students reflect, how can I improve my listening skill? Oh, yeah. So in order to improve my listening skill, I'm going to listen to news programs or maybe watch TV shows in English. And the person do it regularly, right? Notice the student, the learner reflect and do something, right? Not just reflecting, thinking, you don't do anything. No, you have to do something. So the student reflects. Oh, yeah. Or maybe the teacher, for example, I told to my students a lot of time, I give this piece of advice. Try to listen or watch TV programs, or when you watch a film, try to watch it in English with the audio in English and the subtitles in English. So what is the purpose of my advice? Is that my student can be a more independent student or learner of the language. This is the purpose. And they are practicing this listening skill. No? So notice this is a metacognitive strategy. And what about those? Yeah, tell me.
Teacher, at the same time we listen or we watch the movies, TV shows according to expectation, no?
Exactly. Yes. No, something that they like. No, this is very important. No, remember, this is like listening for pleasure. No, intensive listening, extensive listening. No, the intensive, for example, we can compare here. The intensive is related to cognitive. In order to develop the intensive listening, you are going to use cognitive strategies. But if you pass to the extensive listening, so this is referring to metacognitive strategies and also the social affective, because you are listening or reading something that you like, no? You feel good listening to that kind of test or reading that kind of test. Notice, try to connect. We are connecting here the terms. And finally, the social affective. Let's see here. Rehearse a conversation to feel more confident. No, for example, your students practice a conversation. So they start rehearsing. Rehearsing is similar to say practicing. Yeah, they practice or rehearse a conversation to feel better, to feel more confident. Or maybe when you reward your students with something, right? Or they reward themselves. And they reward themselves. Yes, Leslie, encouraging themselves. Yes, encouraging themselves. So notice this is a social affective strategy. So notice here the three strategies. Oh, what happened? What happened here? Yeah, the microphones, please, the microphones. Oh, today my laptop is a little crazy. Oh, what's going on? Oh, just give me a second. Now can you see it well? Yes?
Not yet.
No yet, no yet. Oh, my connection too. Oh, what's going on? Now, yes?
Thank you very much. Yes, teacher.
Yeah, all right. Sorry. Today my laptop doesn't want to work, I think so. Yeah, all right. My laptop is exhausted. Okay, so let's continue. Yeah, so we
a new one for you.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so here you have this. Now, notice that we were talking about each strategy by itself, but when we have these strategies in our life, or when we want to enhance a skill, so we're going to use it together. Notice here. This is a situation. Notice a student listens regularly to a radio broadcast and take notes on the key points. Then he meets his fellow students in the cafe and tells them all about what they just listened to, or he listened to. Notice these activities that you can notice here in the bowl. Listens regularly to a radio broadcast, taking notes on the key points, and then he reports, no? He meets his fellow students, his friends, his classmates in a cafe and tell them all about what he just listened to. Notice we're using here these strategies: cognitive, metacognitive, and social affective. Now you're going to tell me, cognitive, which of these activities is related to cognitive strategy? Can you tell me?
Title. Could be the listen and memorize it to tell to other student what they listened at the broadcast, right?
Yeah.
Could be that?
Yeah. Notice, Yanela, here that we have three. Listen regularly to radio broadcasts. This is one. Take notes on the key points. This is the second. And the third one, he meets and start talking about what he listened. Which of these three activities is cognitive? Is related to a cognitive strategy? Listen regularly to radio broadcasts, take notes to key points, and meet his friends and tell them all about what he listened to. Which of these three is cognitive?
Listen regularly to radio broadcast.
Abraham says, listen regularly to a radio broadcast. Anybody else? Vanessa?
Meets his fellow students in the cafe and tell them all about what they just listened to.
This is the cognitive. All right. So we have different answers. Abraham says, listens regularly to radio broadcasts. Vanessa says that is the third activity, meet his fellow students in the cafe.
Only one answer is possible, or could be
just one.
Just one.
Uh-huh.
So
Lucy.
they
Listening regularly is okay, I think.
Lucy?
Yes, listening.
Listen
Listen regularly to radio broadcast.
and take notes on the key points.
Yeah, remember, just one.
Listening
Which of the...
regularly.
Teacher,
I'm confused now. But
All
could
right.
be listen regularly to radio. Yeah, could be the first one too.
The first one, yeah? Abraham.
teacher, Mama, take notes on the key points.
Aha. Cognitive. All right. Aha. Janela.
cognitive, I think, is about memorizing. So about what they just listen to. So when they tell them, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here.
Yeah, but when she listens, she's memorizing too. Then to tell their, in this case, to tell their fellow students.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see.
I'm confused.
Yeah, don't worry, Vanessa. Don't worry. We're going to get here a better or clear idea about these strategies. Remember what we talked about in the past slide. Cognitive is related to immediate task, something related to learning, conscious learning. Notice that the cognitive here in this three is taking notes because he's going to decodify. He listened to the radio broadcast and is going to decodify it and take notes. This is the cognitive. Yes, Abraham. Take notes on the
what is the right?
point.
Take notes on the key points.
This is the cognitive strategy. Remember, related to learning, not to decodify, to infer. All right, this is the cognitive one. The metacognitive.
Teacher,
Yeah.
I have there a question.
Yeah.
So if the cognitive is take notes on the key points. So when I told you is what they listen to. So I mean that they already codified it, right? They already codified. So if you tell something to somebody, so you need to codify it. So that's what it is for me a little bit confused.
Yeah, but remember, yes, what you tell us, Janela, is it's okay. Decodifying, when you say decodifying, involves cognition because you're trying to understand, right? You're trying to understand this message, this test. So this is cognition. You're decodifying, then you are taking notes because you understand, no? You understand what you listen. So this is the cognitive aspect. Remember, this is the cognitive strategy, taking notes, inferring. This is cognitive, decodifying, all right? The metacognitive, remember, what is metacognitive? That your students reflect and make something to be better, right? To be better, to be a more independent students. So one of the activities that you could do to improve your listening skill is to listen to a radio broadcast regularly. Notice here, this is the activity that you're gonna do to improve your listening skill. So you start listening to a radio broadcast or a radio program, or maybe you start listening to songs, no? Oh man, teacher, yeah, I usually listen to songs, but in Spanish, not in English. Yeah, now you reflect, no. I need to improve my listening skill. Yeah, so I'm gonna start listening English songs regularly. So this is what you do to be a more independent student. You can improve your listening skill. Know what your teacher are telling you in class. No, in this case, you don't need your teacher. So you are more independent. Notice you're more independent. So what are you going to do to improve your listening skill? Oh, yeah, I'm going to listen to a radio program or a radio broadcast. So this is the metacognitive strategy. Notice the purpose of these strategies is that you become an independent learner. All right? An independent learner. So you are going to do some activities, some actions or behaviors to make you an independent learner or an independent student. All right? So this is the purpose of metacognitive. And socio-affective, notice here the context. It's not in a classroom. Where does the person meet his classmate or fellow students? In a cafe. Notice, it's like they were chatting, right? They were talking, they are friends. And he started talking about what he listened in the radio broadcast. That's why he says the socio-affective. He meets a fellow students in a cafe and tell them all about what they just listened to. So this is the socio-affective. It's not in the classroom. The teacher didn't ask him to report this to the other classmates. No. They start meeting each other, hanging out, and he started talking about what he listened in the radio broadcast. So this is the socio-affective strategy. Notice. So here we have these three strategies, and we use it in our daily life. We use it in our daily life. We use the cognitive, metacognitive, and socio-affective. When you listen something to improve, you're using a metacognitive strategy because you want to be better. Let's imagine that maybe you think, oh no, teacher, I cannot speak. I want to speak, but I cannot. So you reflect, oh, so what I'm gonna do to speak better, to have a better fluency? Yeah, I'm going to try to speak to my friends in English. I'm going to use some expressions, some phrases. I'm not going to speak in Spanish. So you are reflecting and you are doing something to be more independent, to be better, to enhance. No, that's why here we use the word enhance, to improve, to be better, enhance. All right? So this is the metacognitive. And the cognitive, notice, is related to learning. All right? Learning itself. So you decodify, you take notes, you infer. It's related to cognition itself. And the socio-affective is related to the interaction. Notice, learners' interaction with other speakers. And also the interaction between the instructor, the teacher, and the student. All right? And the behavior, the attitudes toward learning. So notice, we use these three strategies together. We don't separate them. We use these strategies together in our daily life. So it's very important to recognize these strategies. As I told you before, in a classroom, we mostly emphasize in cognitive strategies because we make our students to answer questions related to the listening, if they comprehend, if they could decodify the information, or maybe we made them to complete a test. No, they listen and they need to complete some spaces. So this is cognition. You're making your students, or you're making your students use cognitive strategies, activities related to cognition. Metacognitive, so you advise your students, or you give your students some activities that makes your student be an independent learner. All right? so they can find out more about a topic maybe, or expand their knowledge, or expand their vocabulary. So this is the metacognitive. And the social affective is the interaction, the interaction that they usually have in the classroom, teacher, student, student, teacher, student, student, or maybe outside, as you can see here. This activity wasn't required by the teacher, right? They just meet as friends and they start talking, but this person wanted to talk about what they listened. And it's a real situation, colloquial situation, the interaction between friends. All right. So notice here this kind of strategies. Don't forget about them: cognitive, metacognitive, and socio-affective strategies. Now, we are going to see some ideas. Yeah, tell me, Abraham. Abraham, are you there?
Teacher, cognitive is related mostly to academic. Huh?
Exactly. Yes, that's it.
Both and the social is outside different activities.
Social affective, non-academic. No, it's non-academic. All right. Okay, so let's see here some ideas for teaching listening strategies. Let's see. Strategy: be ready and have a plan to achieve a given task. Now, this is the strategy: to be ready and have a plan to achieve a given task. How to teach it? Asking concept questions that ask students to show they understand ideas rather than recall facts. And notice concept question. You ask for ideas, not to recall facts. When to teach it? Teach it before the students listen. So you prepare your students. You prepare your students. Type of test: any listening test. No? Here you could use any listening test. So you ask. No, this is similar when you say, no, the prior knowledge, no? Or they could understand some ideas, some concepts. Not to recall a specific information. Notice, no. To understand, to give ideas, all right? So here you are practicing the strategy of be ready and have a plan to achieve a given task. No, this is the strategy. And you could use any listening test. No, you could use here any listening test. Another one. Use word knowledge to predict what will be said. Here, for example, we talked about this point in the reading session, no? The KWL. Can you remember about it? The KWL charts. This is know, want to know, and learn. This is to pull knowledge of the topic. So give students headlines, titles, and they can predict additional content before listening. This is before listening. So they are going to use the word knowledge, the prior knowledge, their schemata. No, these two strategies are related to activate the schemata. When to teach it? Teach it before listening. Discuss. No, they can discuss too. Type of test: factual test. For example, news, discussion of a topic, lectures. For example, this is what I usually do with you, no? I start asking you, no? Oh, what do you know about a strategy? And you tell us, no? And you tell me, oh yeah, teacher, I think this is it. Oh no, teacher, no, I think this is not. I think this is the other side. And notice, here I'm using this, no? In order to predict what the topic will be about. Now, let's see more strategies. Use linguistic knowledge to predict what will be said. And notice word knowledge, linguistic knowledge. How to teach it? We could use gut feel exercise. You know what is a gut feel? Gut feel exercise? Have you heard it before? Gut feel.
Gut feel is when the gut feel are the activities when students complete, when they have to complete blank spaces.
Exactly. And notice with this, you are using the linguistic knowledge. This is related to the linguistic knowledge. Use the gut feel exercise to complete spaces, no? To complete blank spaces. Oh, anybody? Oh, yeah. When to teach it? It can be done either before listening or after a first listening. You can use it before they listen to an audio or after they listen to an audio. And here you can apply it using any listening test, no? Using gut feeling exercise. This is to use the linguistic knowledge to predict what will be said. Another one, monitor performance while listening. How to teach it? Pause, notice, pause at regular intervals during the listening to check comprehension. Then ask questions such as, who said, why, what is the topic? You are pausing. You make pauses because you're going to monitor. And notice here, you're going to monitor performance while your students are listening. So you make pause at regular intervals and you start asking questions if they are understanding what they are listening, no? You don't play the audio, the complete audio, no. Using pauses, using pauses and asking questions. You start asking questions. When to teach it? During listening and taught occasionally as it interrupts the listening experience and can frustrate the students. Be careful on using that. Don't do it too much. And don't do it too much because it can stress, because you stop and then start asking. You stop and then, so there is no fluency, no? You stop the fluency here. But if you want to confirm if your students are understanding or comprehending, you can use it, but not too many pauses, not too many pauses. Yeah, so, and you can use it during listening. This is to check, to monitor, no? Remember, to monitor performance. Type of test. It can be done with any listening test, especially listening for gist. This is to identify, no? Main ideas, no? Listening for gist, main ideas, principal ideas, all right? So this is another strategy, no? To monitor performance while listening. Another one, pick out only salient points, ignoring irrelevant details. How to teach it? Give tasks that require listening for detail. Use gut feel exercise. And notice here that you use again this activity, gut feel exercise. And you use it to get details, listening for detail. When to teach it? During while listening task, as the teacher explains what the students must listen for. And while listening, then we're going to talk about the stages, but remember, these stages are similar in all the skills, no? Pre, while, and post. So here says that this strategy could be used during while listening task, no? while the teacher is explaining, you know, what the student must listen for. Type of test. What kind of listening test? You could use announcements, another list of information. Remember, the purpose here is that your students understand every detail. And you could use gut feeling exercises, no? Some information. No? They need to take into account every kind of information in the test. Another one is taking notes. No? Write down relevant information. How to teach it? Practice writing information quickly. Ask students to identify keywords in full sentences. Give students who, where, what, why charts. Or explain note-taking system. Notice all the things that you could do to practice this strategy with your students. No? That is taking notes or write down relevant information. So you can ask them to write information quickly. No, they listen, what they listen, write it. Or identify some keywords, no, in full sentences. Or you could give them some question words, no? Who, where, what, why. And the last one, you can explain, you know, this note-taking system, no? When you take notes, use some phrases, short sentences. No, you don't use pronouns or subjects, just imperatives, no? So you can use abbreviations, no? So this is the note-taking system. When to teach it? Pre-listening advice on what to note down and how to write it. Notice you have to advise your students before they listen. Requires extended feedback after listening. So in order to check what they wrote or what notes they wrote, so you need a feedback, no? Yeah, what did you write? Yeah, tell me. Yeah, teacher, I wrote this. I got this information. Yeah, and you? Yeah, I wrote this. Ah, okay, you are similar. All right. So you need more time, right? So that's why here says extended feedback after listening. Type of test. Use factual tests. Example, news, discussion of a topic, and lectures too. Right? So notice here the strategies that we could use. Oh, yeah. Here you have three more. Yeah. Note a difficult word or name. Check later. This is a strategy. How to teach it? Help students to make a guess based on a phonetic expression. No? So they need to guess. And maybe they can find a word difficult to understand, no, a word or name. So to make a guess based on phonetic expression, no, sounds. No, sounds is related to sounds. Huh? Try to identify according to the sounds. When to teach it? Requires a hint before listening and then post-listening feedback. So it's before listening and post-listening. Useful as practice for exam situation. This strategy is most for exam context. No? For example, in the international exams, they give you a test and according what you listen, so you need to complete some spaces in blanks with no options. Here, with no options. So they need to identify what the word is. So they need to identify the sounds, no? The sounds. Oh, yeah. Yeah, here, knowledge. Ah, knowledge. Yeah, knowledge. Yeah, so this is the word. So they need to identify this. And it's mostly used in the exam situation or exam context. What type of test? Use factual tests again. No? News, new broadcast, discussion of a topic, and lectures. So this is the kind of test that you could use to practice, this strategy. Another one, listen for keywords for topic identification. You have here ask students to pick out words belonging to a lexical set. So they have to pick out, choose some words belonging to a lexical set. Lexical set is a group of words, which belong to a same lexical field, or set or group of words. So they need to choose and pick out. When to teach it? After the first listening. And what type of test? Use factual test and songs. Notice here you could use songs in order to identify some words, keywords. The other one, check with other listeners. Students compare their answers. After listening, any listening test. So here you have this other strategy, to check, to compare information, what they listened. So you may a student work in pairs or in groups and try to check their information, they were right or wrong, And this is done after listening, After listening, and you could use any test, any test. For example, I use this kind of a strategy with songs. Yeah, okay, now you're going to complete this paragraph or this, the paragraph of verbs in a song, and they need to reorder. Yeah, so yeah, now work in pairs. Try to reorder the sentence, after listening, reorder the lines of a verbs, Yeah, teacher, I put this first, then second, this third, and you, no. For me, this is first, this is second, this is third. So notice, they are checking each other, this information, what they listened. And so you're practicing here this strategy. And usually use songs here, right? Another one, ask for clarification. How to teach it? Teach phrases. Could you repeat what you said about? What did you mean by? And the most important, you must give your students opportunities to ask, right? So you teach. We usually use this, when we, for example, told our students, you don't understand, so you must tell me, but in English, Teacher, sorry, could you repeat that? Oh, what's the meaning of? So notice you're giving the opportunity, your students to ask for clarification. When to teach it? Before listening. Require face-to-face communication. So you start interacting with your students. They have the opportunity to ask you, all right? Type of test. You could use stories, fact or fiction, and anecdotes. Don't forget about it. Reconstruct orally or in writing. Do Dictogloss activities. I don't know, you have heard this activity, Dictogloss. Tell a story or anecdote at full speed several times. Students work together to reconstruct the story. Dictogloss is similar to a dictation. Dictation, right? This is the Dictogloss. So you dictate some sentences or phrases to your students, and they are going to write. So for example, in the dictation, what's the difference with Dictogloss? That in the dictation, you just dictate, and then your students write maybe one by one, and then you pick up the papers, and that's it, and you check. But in the Dictogloss, they are going to work together. Notice, they work together, maybe to a sentence. Yeah, okay, compare. Now, work together. Check your answers, check your sentences. Oh, notice I hear this word. And the student says, no, I hear this word. No, you omit one word. You miss one word. Oh, you have an extra word. Notice they are working together. This is the Dictogloss. Here is for more advanced level students because you can tell a story or anecdote and they are going to work together to reconstruct the story. I think this is for more advanced level students. No? If you are with a basic or elementary students, so you could use sentences. All right, you could use sentences. So maybe you can make your students go to the board and write a sentence, no? And the other students can help this student who is at the front. No, 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 Juan, no, no, you forgot that word. Remember, notice they are interacting. It's not like the normal dictation, no, that we usually do. Yeah, right, my dear students, 5 sentences. I'm gonna start first sentence, second sentence, 5th sentence. Now give me your papers. This is a dictation. No? This is the dictation, but Dictogloss is more active, interact. No? The students, teachers. So it's very, very funny. No? I usually do this in class too, but with some sentences of reinforce some grammatical structures. No? Yeah, I'm gonna say some sentences. You're going to work in pairs and you have to write the sentences. Be careful on the structure. And I start telling the sentences, no? Yeah, all right. After they check the answers, no? They write the sentences in the board. Yeah, what is the structure? And then you can pass to the grammar. Then you can pass to the grammar. All right? So you could use it here. Here is more used in the listening, no? While listening task. What type of test? As here says, a story or anecdotes. No, this is that Dictogloss. Remember, this activity is very, very interesting. Dictogloss. Don't forget about it. Try to use it. Another one. Listen for transition points. How to teach it? Teach linking expressions and devices. The connectors, no? So, on the other hand, furthermore, etc. Pause after the expression and ask the students what comes next. Notice here, you ask the students what comes next. They are going to predict. When to teach it? Before listening. The test can be paused during a second listening too. So while listening to, no? So you could use it before listening or while listening. No? You can pause during a second listening. So they listened to the audio for the first time and then on the second time, so you make the pause specifically where the expression or device of transition is. And they need to remember, oh yeah, what was the next part? So, yeah, so they started to cry. Oh, no, teacher. Yeah, I remember that the audio says, no. So they started to paint. Notice you're practicing here the transition markers, no, transition devices or expressions, but with the listening, right? With the listening. Type of test. What kind of test could you use? Use factual tests, news, discussion of a topic and lectures, or you could use also stories, fact or fiction, and anecdotes. No, in a story, for example, I use this with the stories mostly. Yeah, a short story when you use some connectors. No, for example, when you have this, I used it 2 weeks ago. You could use in reading and listening a story, and I practice that time linkers, as soon as, or after, or then, no, unless, no. So these time linkers. So I play the audio, this story, and I stop here, no, in some points. Yeah, can you remember what is next? Oh, teacher, no, 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 no. Could you do it again? Yeah, and I play this part, no? And then go back. Now we have nowadays with a technological device, we can do it easily. Ah, yeah, teacher, yeah, yes. Right, then after the listening, I pass to the linguistic aspect. Yeah, could you notice what is the use of so? When do we use so? When do we use after? After the listening. First, I practice the listening skill to recognize these transition points or markers, and they could analyze or infer. They infer what is the use or what kind of sentences these markers are connecting, no? So notice you use the listening skill or you practice the listening skill, and then you pass to the linguistic aspect, no, of the language. This is the syntactical aspect of the language. And you could use stories, anecdotes, so news, discussion, and lectures is for more advanced level students, no? As I told you, I use stories, short stories, or anecdotes, no? For example, I remember that I have these kind of tests, but not in listening, in reading. So what I made is, yeah, I'm going to tell you a story, but I read the story that they have in the book. But I told them, close your books. No, close your books. I'm going to tell a story to you. And I start telling the story, no? The first time, then the second time, I stop myself, no the audio, because it was a reading activity. They need to complete. Notice the purpose of this activity is to complete the test using the correct time linker, no? But before completing, so I made him to listen to my voice in this case because it was a reading exercise, no? So I tell them I read the story, and then the second time I stop in these points in the markers and ask them, no, what is next? Ah, teacher, yeah, what is next? No. Yeah, yes. Some of them told me, oh, teacher, yeah, this is the next part. Yeah, all right. Yes, you're right. Let's continue. All right. But remember, not too many pauses, not too many pauses because they're going to be lost or confused or stressed. All right. And then I made it. Yeah, now you have the test. Try to remember what is the correct time linker. And they start, okay, teacher. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Oh, I got it. Yeah, this is the use of this connector, these markers. Notice it's very important to use these strategies and to use these strategies. All right, so we have analyzed, notice here, different strategies you have here. Don't worry, because of a teacher, oh, a lot of strategies is too hard. Yeah, don't worry, because I'm going to give you this material. Yeah, I'm going to give you this material, these slides, in order to check. Yeah, you can check it later. Yeah, you can reinforce later. Yeah, don't worry about it. No? Don't be a stressed teacher. Oh, a lot of strategy, a lot of activities, oh, a lot of oh no, too much information. Yes, I know it's too much information. So that's why I'm going to give you this material to check it later. Yeah, don't worry about it. Now, let's pass to the other point in the listening skill, the sources of listening. What kind of sources do we have we can use? All right. Oh, Lucy? Lucy? Do you want to say something? Yes?
No, teacher, sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, don't worry. Yeah, here we have the different sources of listening. One of the most important sources of listening is the teacher's talk. When you start talking, speaking in the class in English, this is very, very important. No? Here we have a planned input when you want to make or give some information to your students, or instructions, or semi-planned when you describe photos or you tell some anecdotes, or spontaneous input, words of encouragement, witty comments, gossip, on-the-spot classroom management. So notice when we start talking, we have different types of talking, no inputs. A planned input is when you plan what you're going to talk, to give information, to give instructions, to explain something, right? Semi-plan, when you show some pictures and you start describing, or you tell some stories or anecdotes. The spontaneous, words of encouragement, when you say, oh, that's good, very good, great, you did a wonderful job. Witty commands, no? This witty commands is to say funny commands, not to make your students be relaxed, no? Or gossip, maybe you tell us to your students some aspects, no? Or on-the-spot classroom management. No? So notice the kind of talking that we can give to our students. No? Plan input, semi-plan input, or spontaneous input. The students talk. This is another source of listening. So it means that they are going to interact. There is planned, semi-planned, and spontaneous talk from the teacher. That should be the same from the students. When you give them some tasks to develop, no, now you're going to prepare a conversation and they are going to start listening to each other and talking. This is planned because they are preparing, or maybe they are going to give a short presentation. Semi-planned, here when they are going to comment, oh, did you think that is a good idea or this is a good topic? So they give some comments. It's not what the teacher asked them to do, but they start talking, no? They start talking, says semi-plan. And the other one is a spontaneous, no? Oh, please, can you give me or pass me the paper? No, something informal, no? Informal talking. So as the teachers have, the students have. Guest speaker. This is a not very common source, but we could use it sometimes, no? Guest. So you invite a person to talk in your class. Stimulating in a regular class, a relatively controlled environment, hear about a foreign culture, languages semi-planned or unplanned. Maybe you invite someone from another country, you know, English-speaking country. So this is not very common, but we could use it. No, we could use it. This is one of the most common sources of listening, no? The textbook recordings. So it gives us variety. We have a lot of recordings in the books. Listening sequences. We have the procedures, the steps, the activities to be followed or completed. Integration with the syllables, within the syllables. So as when we use a textbook, we must follow our syllables, and the activities related to the listening skill are related to the syllables. Transcripts, no, we can find the transcripts. No, at the end of the textbooks, you can find the transcripts. For example, if you could notice that your students couldn't understand a test, or maybe that the listening is too long for your students, so you can give them the transcripts, no, in order to check, no, what they're listening. All right, this is the last activity, right, to check. Media, songs, internet. No, nowadays we have a lot of material, a lot of sources related to the listening skill. Frequently authentic, topical, and visual aspect. So related to art and emotion, enjoyable, memorable, and stimulating for the students. You can find here listening tests, questions, answer, and even explanations. And notice nowadays we have this opportunity related to the internet, the media, so you can have a lot of materials, no? A lot of material. Next class, next session, I'm gonna give you web pages to practice listening and use it in your classroom. No, similar to the reading, all right, that I've shown you some web pages. Next session, I'm going to show you web pages related to the listening skill too. And we have a lot. For example, I like to use one page. I don't know if you have visited before. This is the Randall Cyber Listening Lab. I don't know if you have heard it before. It's a very, very good web page because it's interactive. Students listen and develop some activities of exercises, and they can check their answers too, either we're right or wrong. And you have different topics, different levels, so you practice vocabulary too. Some of them have the 3 stages, pre, while, and pause, so you can take it as a lesson too. No, you can take this as a lesson. You can have your lesson with this web page. Next session, I'm going to show you. It's a very, very good page to practice listening and using into your classroom. Students can practice listening alone in their own time. No, this is very important that they can be independent. All right. So try to make students to be independent, not to complete just the exercises in a book and that's it. No? Then at home they do anything related to the language. Now try to give these tools, digital tools or technological tools to practice the different skills in their houses, not at home. This is very important, in their own time. No? Okay, yeah. Here we have to pass to the stages. Here we are going to reinforce because next class we're going to talk about these 3 stages, just to give a brief, because remember, this is similar to all the skills. We have talked about this in the reading skill. Now we are going to reinforce. As I told you, we have 3 stages, no? 3 stages in a skill lesson. In this case, the listening lesson. The pre-listening, that is related to while listening, then, and post-listening. So we have these 3 stages, no? These 3 main stages. Pre-listening, while listening, and post-listening. Pre-listening. What is this referring to the lesson? What do we need to do here in the pre-listening? Try to remember, pre-reading, pre-listening. What are we going to do? Can you tell me? Can you tell me?
Makes an explanation about what we are going to listen. The reason why.
The reason why. Exactly. We're going to tell our students the purpose, no? Oh, Vanessa, again, please.
We skip and scan the reading. We check the pictures.
All right. We can use some pictures. Excellent. Or the title, no? Yeah, this is related to reading, no? To check the title. In listening, most of the time we don't have titles or headlines. So, yeah, here, remember, the main purpose of this stage is to activate the schemata. So students are going to ask themselves, what do I know about that topic? About what I'm going to listen? This is to activate. Remember, in the pre-listening stage, we need to activate the schemata, the prior knowledge. You can use photos, pictures, no? And the other one, what Janela says, the reason. Why? Why are we going to listen that? What is the purpose? Notice here, this is related to the pre-listening stage. And prediction. What can I expect to hear? So notice the 3 aspects involving in the pre-listening stage. First, you need to activate the schemata. you need to give a reason to your students and predict. So you're going to make your students predict what they are expected to listen. All right. So this is in the pre-listening stage. Let's pass to the while listening stage. What are we going to do in the while listening stage? What are we going to do?
Yes, is the part where the student start listening, you know.
Yeah. All right. They start listening. Yes, exactly. What else?
Trying to understand what they are listening, so about the topic.
Exactly, to check, no? All right.
Take notes. Maybe
Yeah.
take notes.
Yeah, you could use this activity, taking notes.
The ideas could be.
All right. Yes, as you told me, what you told me is right. So we call this, notice, the monitor. We are as a monitor. So the students are going to check, no, what they predicted, what they know about the topic. They are going to confirm. Oh, yes, I'm right. Okay, yeah, this is a topic. No, are my expectations met? Am I succeeding in the task? So they are understanding, they are doing well in the listening exercise. So this is the while listening stage. Remember, we function as the monitor, all right? So they are going to check, no? They are going to check their predictions, guesses, or their prior knowledge. And if they are understanding or not, comprehending or not, that test that they are listening to, right? So that's why here says, am I succeeding in the task? So it means, am I doing well in the task? And finally, we have the post-listening. What is it related to? The post-listening stage.
Students make the metacognition. They reflect about what they have listened, what they have
learned. No?
What they have learned.
Yeah, all right. Anybody else?
In this stage, the student can make conclusions, inference, and deductions.
Okay, so they are going to span, no? All right, yes. So a feedback, no? Here you have a feedback. Did I fulfill the task? And respond. How can I respond to this? So they are going to span maybe and reflect, as you told me, all right? They are going to infer, no, some other kind of information. So notice, there is a similarity, right? As I told you before, there is a similarity when we talk about the stages. No, when we talk about the stages in a reading lesson or a listening lesson, so they have a kind of similarity. These three stages, the most important is to recognize what do you need to do. Pre-listening, to activate schemata, give a reason to a student, and they make your students predict. In a while listening, so you're analyzing. You start analyzing your comprehension, doing some tasks, doing some activities. And in the post-listening, a feedback. You start checking or spending or reflecting what you have learned and you have listened. All right? So notice that these are the three stages in a listening lesson. Next section, the next Saturday, we are going to see some activities for each of these stages, and then we are going to see some web pages similar to the reading skill. No, I'm going to show you web pages to practice or to get materials or to use it into your classroom. All right. Well, we are going to stop here. Yeah, the time is over. Okay. Oh, my laptop today doesn't want to work. Yeah. So we are going to stop here in the 3 stages. Next class, we're going to talk about the activities. All right. The activities that we could do on each stage. And also I'm going to give you the web pages to practice, to check, to get material, resources, and also to use it in the class. No, you can use it in your lesson plans too. All right. So let me tell you something. Did I give you the list of web pages related to the reading skill? I cannot remember well. ¿Les llegué a dar la lista de páginas cuando vimos lo que es reading? Díganme, si no para subirlo.
Lo vimos en clases, pero no sé, francamente, si lo llegó a enviar.
Y no me acuerdo si lo puse en el chat, eso es lo que no, tampoco no me... Ya, por si acaso
pero
lo voy
si
a enviar, ya lo voy a enviar.
You wrote the links in the chat. You wrote the links in the chat.
Yeah, I wrote the links in the chat, yeah. So I'm going to give you the full list and you can enter easily, all right? Yeah, so the reading and listening, yeah. Okay, well, that's all for today. See you next class, see you next Saturday. Take care a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, teachers. Thank you.
Bye, teacher.
Bye, teacher. Thank you. See you next
Bye-bye. See you next class. Take care a lot.